Welcome back to Aliyah and Chill. I'm your host, and today we're diving into what I like to call the Jewish Identity Thunderdome, also known as my Jewish agency interview. Picture this. You walk into what looks like a government office that had a baby with your synagogue's administrative wing. There are Israeli flags, photos of smiling olim, and that particular smell of bureaucracy mixed with institutional coffee that somehow exists in every official building worldwide. And there, sitting behind a desk that's seen more Jewish identity crises than a Woody Allen film festival, is your interviewer. Let's call her Miriam, because of course her name is Miriam. Now, I thought I was prepared. I'd rehearsed my Jewish origin story like I was auditioning for the lead role in Fiddler on the Roof. I knew my Hebrew birthday, could recite the blessings for bread and wine, and I even practiced looking contemplative while discussing my deep connection to the Jewish homeland. Miriam looked at my file, which, by the way, was thicker than a Harry Potter book, and asked the question that would shatter my reality. So, are you really Jewish? Are you really Jewish? I'm sorry, what? I've been Jewish for 34 years. I had a bar mitzvah where I cried reading about Hannah and her 7 sons. I've eaten more gefilte fish than should be humanly possible. I know the difference between Ashkenazi and Sephardic cooking. I've argued with relatives about Israel at Thanksgiving dinner. But suddenly, sitting in that fluorescent lit room, I started doubting everything. Was I Jewish enough? Was there a Jewish-ometer somewhere that I'd failed to register on? Well, I stammered, my mother is Jewish. My grandmother was Jewish. I went to Hebrew school. But do you feel Jewish? Feel Jewish? Feel Jewish? What does that even mean? Do I feel like a walking embodiment of 4,000 years of persecution mixed with really good bread? Do I feel the eternal weight of my ancestors' struggles every time I see a sale at Nordstrom? I think so, I answered, immediately hating myself for the uncertainty in my voice. Miriam leaned forward. What does being Jewish mean to you? Oh boy, here we go. I launched into what I thought was a beautiful soliloquy about tradition, community, tikkun olam, and the importance of questioning everything, including this very question. I talked about Friday night dinners, lighting candles, and how my Jewish identity shaped my values. I was getting into a real groove when Miriam interrupted. Do you keep kosher? Well, not exactly kosher, but I don't eat pork. Do you observe Shabbat? I light candles sometimes, and I definitely don't work on... Okay, I work a little, but I feel guilty about it. Each question felt like a trap, like there was some secret Jewish handbook I'd never received. Was there a minimum synagogue attendance requirement? A quota of Jewish guilt I needed to demonstrate? Should I have brought character references from my rabbi? Then came the big one. Why do you want to make Aliyah? This should have been easy. I'd prepared for this. But instead of my rehearsed speech about returning to our ancestral homeland, what came out was, because I want to live somewhere where arguing about politics is considered a national pastime, where everyone understands why I'm neurotic about food expiration dates, where oy vey is a legitimate response to traffic. Miriam stared at me. I stared back. The silence stretched on so long I started wondering if this was some kind of Jewish endurance test. Finally, she smiled. Those are actually pretty good reasons. Wait, what? Those were good reasons. Not my carefully crafted speech about Jewish continuity and connection to the land, but my random rambling about national neurosis. The thing is, Miriam explained, we don't want people who think Israel is some kind of Jewish Disneyland. We want people who understand that being Jewish here means dealing with real life, bureaucracy, arguing with neighbors about parking spots, and yes, plenty of oy vey moments. She stamped my file with the authority of someone who'd clearly crushed many Jewish souls before mine. Congratulations, you're approved for Aliyah. Just like that. 30 minutes of existential crisis, and I was in. As I walked out, I realized the interview wasn't really about proving I was Jewish enough. It was about proving I was ready to be Israeli enough. Because apparently, there's a difference between being Jewish in the diaspora and being Jewish in a country where the mailman will lecture you about your voting choices. The funniest part? On my way out, I heard Miriam asking the next person, "So, are you really Jewish?" And I thought, good luck, buddy. You're gonna need it. That's all for today's episode of Aliyah and Chill. Remember, being Jewish isn't about passing some cosmic test. It's about joining a 4,000-year-old argument that somehow involves both theology and the proper way to make cholent. But seriously, folks, save yourself the therapy bills and use easy Aliyah's VIP concierge service. We've already sacrificed our souls to the Ministry of Interior, so yours can remain intact. Until next time, keep your Jewish guilt close and your Aliyah documents closer.